It's Tuesday, it's 12:30. It must be time for a Leader Livecast. Listen, I'm Kim Marshall, the host of the Global Wellness Summit podcast, and of these amazing livecasts we do on Instagram every week, twice a week. And they're special, but speaking of special, today's guest is Scott Duffy. He is the founder of the Entrepreneur Academy. He's a TV and radio host. He's an author and keynote speaker. And he does live events like masterminds. He does retreats that bring together big shots in the entrepreneurial world and really provides inspiration to help them learn best practices. So a little bit about Scott's background. He started his career working for Tony Robbins. Have you heard of him? Oh, good. Well, then he went on to start several small businesses on his own that later grew into big media brands like CBS Sportsline, I'm reading, NBC Internet, and FoxSports.com. And because a lot of people in the Global Wellness Summit realm are in the travel world, you'll be interested to know that Scott also founded Smart Charter. It's an online booking tool for private aviation. So I see that Scott is here. Let's see if we can get him. Hold on. He'll join us in a sec. These get easier every week, don't they? Add. Let's see if he comes on. His latest book, Scott's latest book is, let's see if we did this. It's called Breakthrough. And I have to tell you, there's so much covering in there. Here we go, Scott Duffy. Let's try it again. Like I said, each week it's one more fun thing. Waiting for Scott Duffy. Yay, that's a good sign. But Breakthrough, how to harness the aha moments that spark success. Oh, look at me. For some reason, I am not visible anymore.
Where did you go?
Hey, let's come back. Yay, I'm here. Scott, it's so great to see your face and your beautiful background that I see all the time when I'm listening in.
It's great to see you too.
Hey, you're not too busy, are you?
Oh my goodness. It's crazy. It's crazy right now. I think everyone's busy. We're adapting, we're adjusting, you know?
Yeah, everyone's busier than they've ever been. It's crazy. But I was just about to brag about how you being such a champion of entrepreneurs, the minute this happened and so many small businesses were cut off at the knees, what did you do? What was the first thing you did, Scott?
Well, I mean, the first thing that I did is, you know, I went back to a place I was, was it 10 years ago in 2000, over 10 years ago in 2008. You know, when the market crashed, I'd been really successful in the tech business. I'd made a lot of money. I just sold a company to Richard Branson's Virgin Group. I was partnered or working, alongside my hero entrepreneur. And then everything changed for me when the market crash. It happened in a heartbeat. And, I went from having made all this money to losing everything, going nearly $400,000 in debt.
That's enough.
It was crazy, had a first baby, pregnant with the second, lost the business, lost my health, lost everything. And, when I woke up, it was just, it was almost 7 weeks ago on Black Thursday when this market crashed. I went right back to that spot and I remembered what it was like before I turned it around. I remember how, I felt so isolated in the way I felt. I remember I felt so alone. I felt embarrassed about what was going on. I didn't know where to look for help. And so I decided that it was time to jump in and that's what I've been doing.
Well, I was going to brag that every day, I don't know how you do it. You go on Facebook Live, it's linked through, I don't know, Periscope, YouTube, Dash Radio, and you just talk to entrepreneurs. And when they type in their questions or comments, you respond directly to them, which really makes you feel good. Like someone's listening, right?
Yeah.
But what have you learned from that, Scott?
Well, I think what I've learned is that the most important skill that any of us can have today is adaptability. Our ability to adjust, to adapt, forget everything that we knew 7 weeks ago. I mean, that's really it. I remember, I'm a big basketball fan, and I remember watching Phil Jackson, who coached the Bulls and the Lakers, MJ and Kobe Bryant, and he was interviewed, and he said, what's the thing, the number one thing that makes these two guys number one in the world at what they do versus everybody else? And his response was beginner's mind. And in Buddhism, there's a term called Shoshin, and it means that you approach every single day, every single thing, every single practice like it's the first time that you've ever done it. And when you're open to possibility in that way, it's amazing what you can receive and what can happen. And that's really where we need to be today, is we have to approach each day with a beginner's mind. And the way that we do that then is when we start to pivot and adapt, is by getting in front of our customers and our prospects and asking two really important questions. And the first question is, what do you need now? What do you need today? And by the way, that's where most people stop, is they ask, what is it that you need? And then the entrepreneur goes away and they try and solve the problem and come up with the solution in their head.
Right.
So let's say I'm building a tech product, and let's say I'm building a health and like exercise product. And I go to you and I say, so if I'm building a tech product or an exercise product, what do you need? Well, you may say that it's easy to use. Well, easy to use means a bunch of different things to a bunch of different people.
Right.
And so you have to ask the second question, which is, well, what has to happen? How do you know it's easy to use? And what's going to happen is that person is going to give you their rules. They're going to say things like, well, it's got to be on a mobile device. I use an iOS, not an Android. I want to pay for it one time, not monthly. And then all you have to do is stop thinking and just keep listening, and then build a product that does those things in that way. And that's really the measure today of adaptability, is being to do that.
Scott, I just hope we're going to post this on the Global Wellness Summit website, and it's under 5 and 10. So you do realize that the health and wellness world is so affected by this. Day spas, I think 50,000 across the U.S. stopped cold in their tracks. The travel industry, hotels, spas at hotels. So right now they're like, do we clean everything to death? Does everybody wear masks? Do you hand out masks at the doors? Do you have employees change their clothes when they come to work? I mean, are we going to live in a germophobic society or what? So your crucial points, where every day I hear on your Facebook Live, you have just listened to the latest news, and then you share what that means. Do you know how much that helps? When I'm a small business owner, I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to fill this out. Oh my gosh, I can do that. So what resources do you want to recommend for our spa family?
Well, I think that the biggest resource that we have in this industry, by the way, I love the travel industry. I do. I love the travel industry. I love the people. I love the adventure. I love the sense of community and camaraderie.
Yeah.
And to me, it feels like, some of that community has been torn apart by this. Yeah. People have lost their jobs. They've been furloughed. They don't really know. And so I think that the best resource that we have right now is each other. And to the extent we can stay connected, whether it's through Zoom groups or Facebook groups, programs like this, I think that that's really important. This is a time where we have to support each other.
Yeah.
I think it's also, great to listen to programs. I do, a program on Facebook and YouTube every day. It's called What Now with Scott Duffy. And that's what we're trying to do, is answer, what do you do now in your industry, in your business, to help you to get through this? And it's really all about this. It's about, how do we stabilize ourselves financially? And how do we stabilize our businesses? And then what do we need to do to get through to the other side?
Right.
And, that's the big question. And in this industry, it's particularly tough. I was reading that in the travel business, 7 out of 10 people, 7 out of every 10 are unemployed or furloughed right now.
Yeah.
And, when you take a look at you take a look at those numbers, it's like, wow, well, this is also a great time for innovation.
Yeah.
And the people who figure out how to listen to customers and adapt they're going to have spas, they're going to have resorts, they're going to have wellness centers that really, really take off when people come back from this thing. Yeah.
Well, I will tell you that adaptability and pivot, I'd love to get your stats someday on how much creativity increased from true entrepreneurs during this time. I mean, we do wellness, right? So we got together and thought, wait, how can we apply that to Zoom and virtual meetings? So we're doing now these virtually well meetings that are infused with sensory, like movement, music, meditation, because people aren't paying attention on Zoom. They could turn the camera off and walk the dog. But what I wanted to ask you, Scott, one thing that touched my heart in listening to you is that you talk about feelings a lot. You say to your listeners, how are you feeling today?
Yeah.
And you've also said there's certain people you've had relationships with that are kind of too afraid to even talk, and you're giving them time to be peaceful. So what range of emotions have you felt, and how do you recommend people dealing with them right now?
Well, it's tough. I mean, it's really tough, for all of us. And I think that that's a message that I want to share with people is, if you're feeling like you're the only person, if you feel like you're isolated, if you feel like you're alone in all this, I want you to know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
I want you to know that we are all going through this and we're trying to work our way through. And none of us have the answers. What we do have is the ability to control two things, and that's it. What we focus on and how we move. I mean, those are really the two things. And it's so important right now that we maintain our focus, because whatever we focus on will determine how we feel. And how we feel determines how we behave. And how we behave determines the results that we get in our lives.
Right.
And so I can tell you that the place that I've really dropped into to help manage my focus these days is gratitude. Because no matter how hard it gets, gratitude changes everything, because it shifts your perspective and it gets you to focus on what you have versus what you don't have. So a couple times a day I do this. It's 7:30 in the morning and it's 7:30 at night. I have a gratitude alarm that goes off on my cell phone.
I love that.
And I've been doing this for years. I say 3 things I'm grateful for.
Aww.
And if you want extra credit, you have your kids do it with you as well. But what it does is it gets you to really, it's like building a muscle. It gets you to rethink and retrain your mind.
Yeah.
So if you're going down rabbit holes during the day or whatever, this can help bring you back.
Yeah.
And the muscle gets stronger. Yeah. Go ahead.
So tell me, I love that tip, a gratitude alarm. That might be one of the most useful things that I've heard in all these live casts. What 3 things have you heard about during this time that have brought you joy?
Well, I think 3 things that have brought me joy. So personally, or like as somebody that's like out there as an entrepreneur looking at the landscape.
I know one of the things that bring you joy. That's that Cedar girl that you and I both she brings us all joy. But
yes.
Personally or professionally, what could we learn from that brings you joy?
Well, I find joy, at least 6 times a day when I'm going through gratitude. So I think that, for me, it's become easy, but I love the way, number one, people have come together. I think this sense of community is amazing that people are building through Zoom groups, and it's not always easy. We're not used to doing this all the time, and sometimes it gets old. Yeah, sometimes, oh my gosh, Zoom fatigue. I'm hearing that all the time now. But still, the way people are getting together, I think, and sharing, I think that's really important. I think another thing that's really inspired me and made me happy is my kids. And it's that they're learning new skills right now about how to manage through a time that's really tough. And even though they're 10 and 11, my 11-year-old was supposed to graduate from 6th grade. She was going to be the big kid, this month. And, she's not going to be able to do any of that. And I know that that's really, really hard for her, but we're using that as an opportunity to learn. And I think, there's real value in all of that. And I think, the other thing that just really makes me happy every day, because I hear from entrepreneurs all day long that are in the same position that many of you are,
Right.
that I've been in before, that are really just trying to figure it out, that are really trying to figure out how to see through this and get to the other side. And what inspires me and makes me happy is then hearing back from those people about what they're doing to shift and adjust and adapt in their business. We've heard these stories. You make alcohol and you go from alcohol distributor to making hand sanitizer, or from making car engines to making ventilators, or from having a hair salon to doing in-home hair salon parties and nail parties. And so, having a yoga studio and now doing yoga over Zoom at home and still getting that monthly subscription revenue. So I think it's been really cool to see what people are doing to adapt. And what's really neat is because it's so easy right now with so much bad news out there to be paralyzed and to fall back on our heels. But the people that are getting on their toes, that's where the magic happens.
That's where the magic. Do you know, I want to share with you, I always listen to the Daily, and Sunday they read a story by a restaurant owner in East Village. She's had her own restaurant for 20 years. And it was this beautifully told poetic story of how she shut down and said goodbye to her staff. But it ended with her hope for the future, what we might learn from this, how eateries could be more of a community center instead of a, influencer picture or whatever, taking pictures every 3 minutes. So I really think there's so much we can learn. And Scott, I've never said this before, but I feel like Lady Gaga talking to Jimmy Fallon, because before she did her fundraiser or helped organize that wonderful entertainment thing, they would give little teasers on Jimmy Fallon's show. So I'm just going to say to people, how can they find Scott Duffy? If they have a small business, tune in every day. What time? 10 a.m. Pacific? Is that it?
10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time, at Scott Duffy Media, Scott Duffy Media on Facebook or YouTube. You can listen. If you have Dash Radio, you can listen across the nation on Dash, or you can download the podcast. It's called What Now? And that's what we do every day, is we talk about
I will say that in a few days, we're not allowed to say now, we're going to have a wonderful announcement. I'm so proud of you and your efforts. And I have to tell everybody listening that every time I talk to Scott, I hear his energy, his passion, his willingness to help people, his drive to be out there saying, wait, there's a port in the storm, there's hope. Every day, this is what I learned. This is what I'm sharing with you. So I keep telling Scott, take care of yourself, because we need you. So you better get out there. You better get energy. You better get love and hugs. And we will be in touch. Look for the name Scott Duffy for something that will help small business in the very near future. We're going to be spreading the word about it. And Scott, if there's anything you want to tell, any message of hope or tips that you want to share with our listeners, as I mentioned, your latest book is Breakthrough, finding the aha moments in creativity. And you talk about everything from finding your tribe and getting funding and all of that, but this is a new normal. So give me some ideas, or give us some ideas of what we can cling to till we see you on Facebook in a week or so.
Well, I think there's two final things. The first is Jack Welch, the iconic CEO of General Electric, maybe the best manager that business has seen in the last 100 years. He was asked by a group of entrepreneurs, if you could give us one piece of advice, what would it be? And his answer was panic faster. You see, I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of the times what happens is when this kind of news and all of this news comes at us, we have sometimes one of two things happens. One is we freeze, and we freeze and we want to pretend it's not happening around us, and number two is we get caught up in this strategy called hope. We just keep hoping things are going to get better. And that's not a good strategy. And so, my first piece of advice is to panic faster. Now, not live in fear. What that means is take action now. That means get off your heels and get on your toes. That's number one. And number two is just, I want you to know that, number one, you are not alone. And I want you to know that we will get through this, and we will come out stronger together.
So let's remember that. Scott, you're such a resource for us. Keep up the good work. We're so glad that we've introduced you to the Global Wellness Summit family. We'll see if we get to talk longer on the Global Wellness Summit podcast. Once again, this is Kim Marshall from Swell Public Relations and the famous Scott Duffy. You're going to be hearing a lot more from Scott. So stay tuned. Scott, we can't thank you enough for sharing your brilliance.
Thank you.
Okay? All right.
Good to see you, Kim. Bye-bye.